In Germany, we are the champions of bureaucracy. At least that's what we believe. Hi, my name is Andreas Sense and I make videos on business process automation. Today, I'll talk about a real business process, which is about applying for a business trip. The other day, I talked to a friend of mine who works in an administration in the Cologne area, and he told me what the business process was that he had to undertake to get from the idea of going on a business trip to actually being able to go on the business trip. And I've modeled that with BPMN. And then also I've looked up some of the forms that you have to fill in during this process. And today I will present you with the as-is process in form of a BPMN diagram. And I also show you some of the forms that I have collected. And at the end, I'll quickly talk about possibilities to optimize this business process. So let's start right away. If you look at this BPMN diagram here, this is the as-is process. You can see at first that there are two pools. One is an open pool with the business process itself, and then there is a collapsed pool for the German federal pension insurance. And in the main pool, we have the company itself or the organization where you work. And in the middle, we have the applicant. This is the person who wants to go on a business process. And at the top, we have the travel expenses department. At the bottom, we have the line manager of the applicant. And as I already said, the business process starts with business trip needed. This is the trigger. This is the start event. And the end event is ready to go. Okay, so what is in between? In between, there is a number of tasks, as you can see here. And they are associated to one of the three lanes here. And the tasks that are marked in yellow, I will have some forms. And I will go through the forms with you. And yeah, so let's just start at the beginning. So the first task that the applicant has to do is called fill in trip application form. So business trip application form, this is the first form I've collected for you, and I found this on the internet, and I've translated it with Google Translate to English, so it's easier to see what's going on, and I'll show you the form as I go through it on the screen behind me. So the first thing, so let's assume we want to go on a business trip to New York, spend a week there and attend a conference or something like that. So the first point that's in the form is already very relevant. It's marked in red and boldface, and it talks about for flights or via the USA, please enter the date of birth, the redress number. What is a redress number? This is something I learned here. Redress number is a number that is issued by the US Department of Homeland Security, and it's for people who have difficulties often when they go through the security check or something like that. So I had to look that up. So I don't have a redress number, I know. So, but in case you have one, this is the first thing you have to enter here. And then you enter some information about yourself, date of birth, things like that. Information about the business trip, of course, where you want to go from when to when, and all that. This is very usual stuff. But then the interesting part starts. So the transportation and accommodation part here. The first thing is you go with a company car. These organizations, usually they have company cars, and you always should make sure you reserve a company car. Even if there's only one car for the whole organization, make sure to reserve it, because otherwise, later on, when you use your private car, you will be asked to prove that you have tried to reserve the company car, and this is quite important. Yeah, and then there's this field, if you want to go by plane, it says, I request the express use of the aircraft with the following reasons. And what comes to my mind is, but the sea is wide, but I cannot swim over, nor have I wings so I could fly. So probably I would put that in here. And then it goes on, you have different WEs, and WEs stands for Wegstreckenentschädigung, and this basically means mileage allowance. And so there are two different cases. One is you have a private vehicle with a small mileage allowance, or one with a large mileage allowance. So if you opt for the small one, you will get damage compensated for as much as 350 euros. So that's quite a lot of money. And if you have the large mileage allowance, you have to tell them why. You have to give them a valid reason why you want to have the large mileage allowance. And then it goes on the next slide. You can also, for example, take a rental car somewhere in the trip. And you also have to give a justification that you need a rental car, of course. I mean, you should rather take the bus, I think. And if you take the rental car, you have to make sure that you have a valid driving license. And you also have to make sure, and it says this here, if this driving license is no longer available in the time of the business trip, I will not use the rental car. So you have to declare here, of course, that you will not lose your license until then, and then use the car anyway. So that would be a crime, I guess. So the next thing is mileage credits. This is an important topic, and there's quite a lot devoted here in this form because of that. You may know these mileage programs like Miles and More. So in Germany, Lufthansa was one of the first with this mileage program. You get some bonus when you travel a lot. You get even another travel on top of that. And now there are many other companies that do that. And here you have to declare which mileage programs you are part in and what kind of mileage you may have gained during the business process you are applying for. So this is one option. And then the next section, which is even larger, is about the Bahncard. And you have to know German Rail, they issue a kind of card where you can have 25% reduction, 50% reduction, or 100% reduction. And there are different possibilities. The card may be issued by your company, or it may be a private card, and then making the calculation becomes all very complex. And also there's first class, second class, so there is some kind of combinatory explosion here. And this would be a very good candidate for DMN rules in BPMN, decision model and notation. You could implement all the rules with that. So very interesting. And then it goes on, many signatures and all that. I will skip to the next part. So this form filled in now goes to the line manager. You can see here, and this is a collapsed sub-process, approved travel. So there's not only one person involved, there may be a person involved checking for the if there is enough budget in the cost center and things like that. And also, of course, the superior who has to say, yes, this is a valid business trip. And then after that, this process goes to the travel expenses department, where they check the travel for all these things if you have filled in all the stuff correctly, and they check that. And by the way, I mean, this business process diagram is only the sunshine path. So all these different possibilities where something goes wrong, or they have to ask something back, or they refuse, they are not denoted in this diagram to keep it simple. Then there is an and split. So there are several things that you can do now as an applicant, 4 different tasks that you can do at the same time. And I will go through them one by one, starting with fill in personal data in posting questionnaire. And the posting questionnaire, I've brought that with me as well. This is a quite interesting thing. So these posting questionnaires and the certificates that are issued, they are for the case that you are an undeclared worker in a construction site working in another country, and there is some kind of social dumping going on. And if you are going to New York for a conference, you have to have that. You absolutely need this certificate, and you have to have it printed out and take it with you. So in case that a policeman in the street asks you to show it, you can just present this. How to get that? Very easy. You have to fill in your personal information, ordinary stuff. The only thing that you may have to look up is German pension insurance number. You must have this number somewhere in your house, I would suppose. And then the second part is all filled in by the employer. So in our case, this would be the travel expense department, and then they fill in if they provide personnel on a commercial basis, or if they have lots of temporal employment. They tell them when you started to work for them, and all these previous postings in the last, I don't know, 5 years or whatever. And then this is filled in. So a very, very small form from what I can see. And then this form is passed on to the German federal pension insurance, goes to another pool. We come back to that in a moment. So this is this form. And then the next one is register for the crisis preparedness list. So register for the crisis preparedness list elephant. And this is elephant, but with a D. And it means elektronische Erfassung Deutscher im Ausland. So the D comes from Deutscher, and of course this is something very interesting. I don't have the form here. It's an online form, a very simple form. And you tell them what is your next of kin, who to phone in case of a crisis, if there's another corona pandemic or whatever. Then you will be brought back in all these cases of crisis. A very good thing to do. And don't forget that before you go on the business trip. The next thing is get advice from the company doctor. So every serious organization here has their own company doctor, and the company doctor is not necessarily on site. I mean, the doctor may be in the next town somewhere, and to get this advice, you have to make a rendezvous there. And there is another form for applying for a visit to the company doctor, which I don't show here today. And this has to be signed also from by the line manager, and then you can ask for a rendezvous, and then it only takes maybe half a day to get this advice. And the next thing is fill in risk assessment form. So risk assessment form. This is an even more beautiful form to fill in. This is in German it's called Gefährdungsbeurteilung, and this, as you can see here, this is a large table with hazards in the left column, and then you have some kind of protective measures, and then you can say if this is fulfilled, yes, no, or not applicable, and then you can mark some notes how things are going to be implemented, by whom, and until when. And so our trip to New York, injuries or death to due to vehicle accident, etc., defective vehicles, even dirty windows. So you have to clean your windows before you start driving, or insufficient tire tread. These are all potentially lethal. And of course you have to say yes, no, not applicable. And there is an asterisk here in the no compartment. And it wasn't really explained. So I looked for the asterisk in the whole form. I couldn't find an explanation for it. Anyway, the next thing is injuries or death in vehicle accidents due, for example, operating communication devices while driving. So, for example, if you have your mobile phone, you shouldn't phone while driving, and then you have to say yes, no, not applicable. And I was wondering which one should I check. So, for example, if I don't drive with a mobile phone, I usually don't phone while I'm driving. Do I have to say yes, it is fulfilled, so the countermeasure is fulfilled that I don't do it, or do I have to say no, I won't do it? And then what does not applicable mean? Not applicable may mean that I don't have a mobile phone, for example. Okay, next thing is injury or death due to vehicle accident, loose cargo and things like that. So you have to make sure that the vehicles that you are using are equipped with holding points for securing loads. So for example, if you want to transport a piano, it makes sense to strap it to something, and that is not just moving around in the back of the car. And other things are danger from the cargo, hazardous substances, for example, nitrogen. So if you have nitrogen in the car, I think it really makes sense to open the window to be able to breathe. Very important information here. Next thing, flammable liquids, compressed gas cylinders, and things like that. If you plan to transport that, and in the case I'm talking about, you would just say not applicable here. And then again, danger of tipping over due to incorrect loading. So again, this is the piano story again. If you have a Fiat Panda and you put in the piano on one side, the whole Fiat Panda may just topple over. And of course, you have to think about that. And then risk of tires, fatigue due to whatever reasons, abuse of alcohol and drugs, you shouldn't do that. And danger from other road users, that's also quite important. And this is all for this section, which is called business driving with motor vehicles. The next section is business trips abroad in general. Danger to health or death due to pathogens, infections from food and drinks. So dangerous drinks, I don't know, in New York, you may have a root beer or Dr. Pepper or whatever. Maybe you have to be careful what you drink there. And next thing is injuries or death due to, for example, war, uprisings, unrest, terrorism, epidemics. Also an important topic. And another thing is health risks from jet lag. So also that you should rather avoid that. And with your schedule, you should have some time for recovery. And goes on like that. And then the last chapter is about pregnant and breastfeeding women. And I think there is something missing here. So this form could really have more chapters, for example, on the dangers of if you are a pedestrian crossing the street, you may be hit by a bus, for example, or if you use the public transport and things like that. So I think there is some optimization potential here in this form. And once you have filled this in, we come back to our process diagram. This goes to approve risk assessment by the line manager. And then we have this and join here. So if you have all these things together, you can finally get some offers for travel and accommodation. You look up how expensive the flights are and hotels. And then you have to double check that with the travel expenses department, who will tell you if it's okay or not okay. There are many things like hotel costs may not exceed a certain threshold and things like that. And then finally you can book the trip. Now, we are not done yet. So we have said that we have this personal data in posting questionnaire, this posting questionnaire, which went to the German Federal Pension Insurance. This process for them takes 2 or 3 months. That's the information that I got. So 2 or 3 months. So either you have to be very early with all your process, or you may have the problem that you will not get the social security certificate issued by them in time to start the trip. And what you can do, there is a workaround, of course, for this. If you are traveling on short notice, for example, in a month or something like that, then you should carry your filled-in application form and carry that with you as a replacement for the real certificate. Very well. So this is the business trip, and we are ready to go. So what can we do? I think this process is already very close to an optimal process. I would like to ask you if you have any similar or even better business processes in your organization. Thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.